The Loretta Young Show.
Have you missed us? Well, we certainly hope so. And we certainly have missed you in our own way. Oh, we've all had wonderful vacations around here. I've already checked on that. But we have also all agreed that it's going to be very nice to come visiting with you again each week. Tonight, you're going to meet what we call double partners. They're not only husband and wife, but they are also law partners. And their names, Austin and Ruth Baxter. Operator, send police.
Had to play it big, didn't you, Frantic? Baxter still outside?
Yes, Sergeant.
That's for the lab.
Right.
Sorry to keep you folks waiting.
That's all right, Sergeant.
I'll try to make this as brief as I can. Now, Mrs. Baxter, I know you've had a bad time of it tonight, but would you mind telling me exactly what happened?
Everything seems so pointless. It just doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Well, perhaps it will to me. So would you mind describing exactly what you saw and heard up until the explosion?
I can tell you what I saw, but I didn't hear anything.
I beg your pardon?
I'm deaf, Sergeant, stone deaf, and I have been since childhood.
But you've been hearing me all right.
I've been reading your lips.
That's right, Sergeant. My wife's a real expert at that. Most of our clients aren't even aware of it. Of course, I handle all the trial work for the firm.
Oh. Works out okay.
What?
Works out fine.
Oh.
But it kind of complicates things for me. I mean, not knowing exactly what was said tonight.
Well, I know for sure what I said.
That's true. Well, suppose you tell me what happened from your point of view.
Yes. Well, my husband, Austin, that is, went to a meeting tonight, and so after dinner I came back here by myself to finish a brief working on. Since I'm not able to hear if anyone enters the reception room, Austin had a light rigged up for me, which flicks on and off whenever the outer door opens. The trouble is, I sometimes get so absorbed in my work that I don't notice it right away. Light signal had always worked perfectly in the past, so naturally I was puzzled. Yes? You looking for someone? Although not able to hear, I had no problem reading his lips. You said a friend of yours? Someone who has an office in this building? What does your friend look like? Maybe I can help you. I have seen no one of that description. In fact, I don't believe there has been anyone else in this building all evening. What are you doing? You said you were a policeman. May I see your credentials? Nothing's wrong. I just want to make sure you don't disturb my papers. I told you there was no one here. Yes, that door leads to the hall. What is this all about? Who is that man? Who are you? Please, speak slower. I'm deaf and I can't read your lips if you speak so fast. For some reason, I can't understand one word you say. By any chance, do you speak with an accent? Then that would account for it. An accent makes lip reading almost impossible. You form the words differently. Tell me something about the park across the street? The bench in the park? Come and write it. Did you hear something? McConnell Building. Send police. McConnell Building. And I kept repeating it until the squad car arrived. And then one of the policemen was kind enough to telephone my husband for me.
That's right.
You say you've never seen either of these men before.
I'm sorry, but
I'm sorry, I forgot. You've never seen either of these men before?
No. Never.
Well, the dead man was a private investigator, name of Planchek. You say Planchek was trying to tell you something about the park across the street?
Yes. Yes, he kept pointing to that bench down there. That one right next to the lamppost.
Oh, Ruth, you mean Mr. Craiggie's bench?
Yes. Yes, dear.
Well, why do you call it that?
Oh, it's just an expression that we have for it. Leonard Craigie, of course you know who he is. He uses that bench all the time.
Yeah, he lives right around the corner there. See? There he is now. In the daytime, he uses that bench as a kind of informal outdoor office.
Yeah, I've heard about it.
It's quite interesting, I can tell you. Being able to look out our window here and see all those important conferences going on. Quite a man, Mr. Craigie.
You know him?
No, not personally, but like everybody else, I admire him.
Well, not everybody. A fellow once told me that Leonard Craigie is about the most vicious grafter to come down the pike.
Mr. Craigie, a grafter? Why, Sergeant, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what everybody told this fellow, but he was always a mule-headed cuss. Well, here I am rambling on, and you must be dying for rest. Why don't you run along home, Mrs. Baxter? I'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Thank you, Sergeant.
We'll do that, Sergeant.
Sergeant, would you mind telling me the name of your mule-headed friend?
Not at all. It was Planchek. Rudy Planchek.
Kind of a coincidence, isn't it, honey? Let's go.
sorry, Mrs. Baxter. I didn't mean to startle you. Your husband said it was all right to come right in.
It's all right.
He said you were jittery this morning. Anything special?
Austin says it's foolish of me, but I can't get rid of the feeling that I am being watched.
Well, Mrs. Baxter, you are being watched. For your own sake, the department's keeping an eye on you.
Keeping an eye on me?
Why do you suppose Flanchek was killed last night?
I assume he picked up some dangerous information someplace.
Now, suppose it occurred to a certain interested party that he may have passed on that information to you before he died.
But I already told you. I couldn't understand one word you said.
You know that, and I know that. But does our certain interested party know it?
The whole thing was in the morning paper. My deafness, everything.
Mrs. Baxter, if you were our certain interested party, would you accept that story at face value? Or would you want to double check and make sure that deaf woman lawyer was really deaf?
I would want to double check. Do you think he's the one?
Could be.
He does seem so open and above board.
Like having his office in a public park?
Yes. Yes.
Flanchek always said it was pretty hard to plant a dictaphone near a park bench. But then people always referred to Flanchek as the screwball fanatic.
Ruth, what do you think? I've got some great news. Mr. Craig's secretary just telephoned us. We're to meet with him in half an hour down at his bench to discuss some important business he wants us to handle.
Mr. Craigie wants to meet with us, with you and me?
That's right. Well, honey, don't you see what this means? This firm is on its way. That's what it means. I think I'll just give old Petey Peterson a buzz and let drop the name of our latest client. Excuse me, Sergeant.
If you don't mind, Mrs. Baxter, I think I'll stay here by the window and watch to see how it goes down there.
Now, what, Sergeant? I'm scared.
Refreshment. Afternoon tea, we call it. Help yourself, Mr. Baxter.
Well, isn't this a wonderful idea?
Thank you. So lovely a lady deserves champagne.
This will do nicely, thank you.
Perhaps you prefer orangeade.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Craigie. Here, take mine.
No, thanks. Ralph will get me another.
What happened?
Mr. Craigie dropped the bottle, honey.
Didn't you hear the crash, Mrs. Baxter? Oh, but of course you didn't. You're so expert at lip reading, I keep forgetting you're deaf. Where was I?
You were saying that courage like my wife should be rewarded.
Yes, of course. Well, I don't imagine that you two will object too violently if I throw some business to your law firm.
Sergeant told me what he had in mind, and I'm afraid it's out of the question.
But why?
Why, if Craigie ever knew that you were reading his lips through binoculars from up here, why, we'd be washed up in this town, honey. You know that.
A man was murdered here in this room, right in front of my eyes. I might have been killed, too, if he hadn't thrown his body over that bomb. And I think the least...
I know. And I'm very sorry about that. But in the meantime, we've got to be practical.
Oh, Austin. Our own private little debate again.
Honey, I'll say it over and over again. You've got to be practical. Get by this one.
I know, and I agree with you. I think we should be practical, too, but not at the price of principle. Please.
All right, honey, you win. But will you promise me one thing? That you'll drop the whole thing the minute it turns out you're on the wrong track?
I promise.
Okay, in that case, bring on the binoculars.
In the days that followed, I peered through those binoculars until my eyes ached in their sockets. Leonard Craigie conferred with a good many people, but never once was anything incriminating ever said. And then on the very day I had called in Sergeant Tuttle to inform him I had decided not to waste any more time on the project, it happened. You see that man just leaving the bench?
Yes.
He is one of Mr. Craigie's assistants, and they have just been discussing some kind of a payoff tonight to a man named Bullen or Mullen. I couldn't quite make sure which.
There is a local bad boy named Mullen. There's a local hoodlum named Will Mullen. Mullen.
What does he look like?
Well, he's about my height, thin, slow-moving, slow-talking, mean eyes, blue.
That could be the man who threw the bomb in here that night.
Wait a minute. Did he throw you a kiss? Like that?
Yes,
That's our boy. What time is the meeting?
10 o'clock.
At the bench.
Yes.
Do you mind being on hand, Mrs. Baxter? You're our only witness.
Of course not, Sergeant. I'll be very glad to.
I'm afraid I can't let my wife be a party to this, Sergeant.
Well, I'm afraid it's out of your hands now, Mr. Baxter.
Oh. Official, huh? Well, I only hope the three of us don't have cause to regret your decision.
I hope not, too. All right, keep your hands in plain sight, both of you.
Well, now, what's the meaning of this?
Police business. Sergeant Tuttle. Now, let's have a look at you.
Oh, officer, I hope you realize that this gentleman is Assemblyman Walter P. Davis.
Yeah, I recognize him.
Well, I assume you have some explanation for this.
I'm afraid not, Mr. Craigie.
Well, then you won't be surprised to find yourself pounding a beat around the city dump in the morning. Come along, Mr. Davis. Good night, officer.
Mr. Craigie? I knew this was a crazy idea. I knew it. You go back to the office and I'll meet you there.
Oh, where are you going?
After Mr. Craigie to apologize for this fiasco. Well, don't look so upset, honey. It's not the end of the world.
Sweetheart, turn around. Turn around. You are deaf. Just like Craigie said.
You're hurt.
Hurt? Sweetheart, I'm dead. Good old Leonard Craigie killed me tonight. Well, he didn't take time to make sure, and that's going to turn out to be his big mistake.
Did you say Leonard Craigie did this to you?
Yeah.
Why?
Ever since he was tipped off, the cops meant to pick him and me up together at the park.
Oh.
He was scared. Scared bloodless. Because I'm the only one who could link him with the plan check business.
Did you say someone warned Mr. Craigie in advance? Who warned him? Who warned him? Austin!
Your husband.
This is the man!
He's the one.
Austin!
He's the...
Who did he say?
I don't know.
Austin, who...
I don't know. His voice was too weak to hear.
We better call the police.
All right, honey. Now, you go inside and relax. Go on, go on, go on. Hello, Mr. Craigie. This is Austin Baxter. Something's happened here at the office. My wife wants me to call the police, but I think you better have a look at the situation first. Hurry, please.
All right, as soon as the police get here. Sergeant Tuttle said he might drop back for a cup of coffee. I haven't seen any sign of him yet. You didn't call the police. You called him.
Yes, I did call Mr. Craigie.
Why?
Well, as I said before, somebody has to be practical around here. The office is a lot more apt to succeed working with Mr. Craigie than against him. Anybody will tell you that.
Austin, are you the one who warned him?
Yes, honey.
Austin, you've just been so anxious to get Mr. Craigie's business that you're willing to believe things that no rational person would believe.
Oh, now, sweetheart, he's going to give us all his business beginning the first of the year. I tell you, honey, these days it pays to be practical.
Oh, no. That kind of practicality is just so much quicksand, and pretty soon it'll suck you under. Don't you see that?
Oh, now, Ruth, please.
I'm serious, Austin. I'm awfully serious. Don't you see, if you and I don't... Well, if we give up our principles, if we're not true to them, pretty soon we won't be true to each other. And if that happens, we're lost.
Oh, darling, are you still persisting in that childish notion that Mr. Craigie is some sort of a criminal?
There's a dead man out there. Just before you came in, he told me who shot him. Mr. Craigie. I think we'd better let the police settle this.
Now, Ruth, don't be silly. Mr. Craigie will work out everything.
Austin, please.
Work it out all right. Won't you, Mr. Craigie?
Why, of course. Taking care of problems is my specialty. Did she tell you that I killed him?
Well, yes, she did.
I'm sorry, Mr. Baxter. That gives us no choice. Just step away from her.
He's going to kill me. Are you going to let him, Austin?
Now, Mr. Craigie, this doesn't...
Right where you are. You first, Mrs. Baxter.
It's been said many times before, but it's always worth repeating. A sure way to failure is to compromise with principles. But good night. See you next week.
Visit the Loretta Young Show again next week. Same time, same station.